Yeah, he's a beast, man. We're gonna get to the injuries. I do want to get to that because that's what people want to hear about. Before we do that, I have to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper. We'll see you right after a quick word from our sponsor.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
I need to get on that, Jeff. My dynasty team just died. It's dead. James Conner, dead. Malik Neighbors, dead. Trey Benson, dead.
You had Jane Daniels too, right?
Yeah, he's been dead, but he got resurrected. A little Lazarus action going on there, but I think the rest of the squad's dead. I got to get a Sleeper account.
Don't worry, Justin. I got Tyreek Hill, dead.
All right. Yeah.
Dead.
Half the NFL is dead right now, dude.
Honestly.
It's a good segue into this.
I know. Guess what? Turns out it's not just the Lions. Who knew?
Yeah.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's nice to see. Well, it's never nice to see an injury, but it is nice to see not season ending. Okay,
is that what you're gonna say?
Are we live?
Yeah, let me, guys. I'll get my way out of this. All right, I was working my way out. Just give me a sec. It's nice to see not season ending. Can we? Last year, a lot of season-ending injuries.
Yeah.
DJ Reed, when he got carted off, I'm not gonna lie to you. I just looked down. I said, "Here we go, season-ending." It just looks so bad. And then you get news. He's on IR. There's no surgery required. Dan kind of talked about it. He's gonna be out a while. Terran Arnold, kind of a week to week. It seems like this week probably not going to play, but he could be back the following week. It didn't look too good when he was injured in the game. That's positive news. Davenport's still on IR. He's going to come off in a couple of weeks. Then you got Lee McNeil starting his clock this week. So some positive along with some negative, but still some positive in there. At least these guys will be back at some point this season, which is good news.
I think based on where things were, like it could have been a lot worse than the news that we ended up getting.
Mm-hmm.
Like DJ, he spoke briefly in the locker room today, and he said that he thought he tore his hamstring off the bone after he got hurt there and thought his season was over. And it sounds like, he was just placed on IR, so he's going to miss at least 4 games. His earliest chance to return would be, I believe, week 10 versus the Commanders, if that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if he can come back at the early end of that timeline. But, he thought it was going to be worse than it was. So I think that's good news there. Terrion sort of does this thing where he gets hurt and we'll leave a game and then we'll think he's going to miss multiple weeks. And then he was out there practicing today. So he, at least on a limited basis, but I think that's sort of a positive sign for him, all things considered. Still not sure his status for Sunday's game, but I think the fact that he was out there is good news regardless. And then Aleem, man, I mean, just, I know you talked to Aleem not too long ago, but just the fact that Dan Campbell came out today and was like, yeah, we're starting this clock. That was kind of what he led off with. It felt like, and it's all right, man, that's a shot in the arm full of energy. And it's like, he's like, I feel bad for the linemen that have to go up against him because, Mac's back. And we went out there for practice. And one of the first songs they play is, Return of the Mac. And, everyone's having a good time out there. So, I think all things considered, for what it could have been you lose DJ Reed for the season. Could have been Terrion Arnold maybe placed on IR with that shoulder injury. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. The fact that he was out there, that's good news. And then you're starting Aleem's clock. And I believe Campbell said on 97.1 that they would like to get him going before the bye week. And I think this sort of lines up with it timeline-wise. So that's good news all around for them.
When I saw Reed go down, I mean, it looked like he was shot in the ass, right? Like just the way he clutched the back of his leg and collapsed to the ground. And, typical with his football character, right? Still tried to make the play while with his free hand. But they were really game planning around Reed and how good he was playing, right? Like last 2 weeks, and I know Will kind of brought up in the post game, we weren't really sure because sometimes you don't catch these things live, but it was the second week in a row he traveled, right? So he traveled with Zay Flowers against Baltimore. He traveled with Jerry Jeudy here and gives up 3 receptions right off the bat. First drive of that game, 3 receptions, 48 yards. Doesn't give up another one. There was 4 more targets while he was in the contest. He broke up 3 of them, including a really, really incredible pick. I mean, there's no other way to describe that. He just overpowered, threw him, diving catch, unbelievable play. And you look at just some of the schemes they were running, some of these half-field zones where they were trusting him in man-on-man while the rest of the defense was playing zone coverage, like he was balling out, and it's a really, really tough loss to absorb. I think they're going to have to simplify some of their coverage schemes here, but the nice thing is Brad Holmes built some pretty good depth at cornerback, and it starts with Meek Robertson. I think everybody here is a fan of what he brings to the table, both quote wise and performance wise. Certainly played really, really well on the outside to finish last season. Was better on the outside when he was in Vegas. I don't have any concerns about him there, and I think Rock Ya-Sin is a really nice schematic fit if you need him, whether Terrion can go or not. Beyond that, like, look, nobody has great cornerbacks 5, 6, 7. Like, where it starts getting dicey and great. Like, you could run Khalil Dorsey out there or Trey Flowers off the practice squad, but like in terms of their top 4 or 5, like it's a really solid group, and I think they're going to be able to salvage this thing, until Reed gets back.
Yeah, I think quickly on Terrion, after this coaching staff saw the way he tried playing through his hamstring back in week 1 and the way that it limited him, especially on those 2 explosive plays, they had no interest in letting him go back in that game Sunday with a compromised shoulder. And he actually seemed like Shep in the aftermath of the week 1 loss was like really frustrated with Terrion for almost keeping himself in the game at a time when he probably should have taken himself out because he wasn't at 100%. So they seemed to have no desire to leave him in at less than where they need him. I do think just watching him move around on the field today that he'll play on Sunday, as early as it is to say that. But yeah, Justin, I agree. And I was going to make a version of the same point. I think given how well TA was playing in training camp and how highly the coaching staff thought of him, they were prepared to basically have DJ and TA each play one side of the field. And they had to adjust that approach after watching TA struggle pretty badly in weeks 1 and 2 and pivot to DJ being the guy who travels. And, I fully expect Meek Robertson to draw the Jamar Chase matchup on Sunday. And obviously it's different without Joe Burrow back there, but he can still make plays with the best of them, obviously. And I think the Lions feel a lot of confidence in Meek in that matchup based on the way he matched up with Justin Jefferson in last year's season finale. And I thought Meek, when he ended up matched up with Jerry Jeudy on last Sunday after DJ Reed went down, also held his own. And dude, like, you just can't not love Meek. Like, after that game ends, he's at his locker and he's got his pad still strapped. He's got a towel over his head. Listening to him speak, you would have thought he was like one of the culprits in a terrible performance. And they won by 24. And Meek actually played pretty darn well. I know he was pissed at himself for allowing the one deep ball down the sideline, for not snaring the pick that kind of slipped through his hands, and for maybe missing one tackle. But you go back and look at the numbers, and they were very impressive all the way around. And, anytime we as reporters walk into the Lions locker room, there's one guy who is always at his stall and always watching film on his tablet, and it's Meek Robertson. And he'll always make time for anyone who wants to come talk to him, which is everyone. But then he'll immediately go back to dissecting film. And there was a moment in the game on Sunday after Reed went down that stood out to me that I think kind of personifies Meek's ability to step up in those one-on-one matchups against receivers who are bigger than him, who are taller than him, and who might even be more explosive than him. Late in the game, Flacco tried hitting Jeudy on 3rd down on sort of an out route towards the Lions sideline. And you could see Meek was reading it the whole way. And I think Flacco even knew who's reading it, because he eventually just chose to throw the ball kind of high and wide out of bounds so that Meek couldn't swoop in for the pick. And after the play ended, Meek, being Meek, was immediately in Judy's face, like right up in his grill, and was pointing at his own head over and over again. And so made a point to ask him about it after the game. And he was like, yeah, man, well, first of all, me and Judy go back to our days with the Raiders. And so I got right up in his face, and Judy was like, how you knew that was coming? How you knew that was coming? And Meek was like, I'm very smart. I'm very smart. And he really is, man. And he has instincts that I think shine more at corner than at nickel. And they shine more when he can play consistently, which he doesn't have the benefit of doing at nickel in a defense that plays so much base. So I think we will see him take his game to another level with this new opportunity. And look, he's the first one to say it. Like, I ain't ducking nothing. He wants every bit of that Jamar Chase matchup on Sunday. And shoot, when you watch him out jump 6'4" Harold Fannin to knock down that jump ball in the first quarter or first half, you understand why he's able to match up with these bigger receivers, man. He's every bit of tenacious and ferocious that this Lions defense needs.